Watch this video if you want to know how to create emotionally intelligent teams. Emotional intelligence, everyone's talking about it. You're probably working on your own EI to become more self-aware, more in control of your emotions and more integrated with your own people networks. As a leader, you want the individuals in your team to display high emotional intelligence and also for the team as a collective to function as a unit that puts EI right at the forefront of how it operates. So here are 7 ways that you can build a great emotionally intelligent team. Become your own master of emotional intelligence. As the leader of the team, it's up to you to define and live the culture of your team. Walk the walk and ensure that you understand all of the aspects of emotional intelligence and what it brings to individuals, what it brings to careers, and what it brings to teams. Emotional intelligence is a set of emotional and social skills that defines how well we perceive and express ourselves, how well we develop and maintain social relationships, how we cope with challenges, and how we use emotional information in an effective and meaningful way. I find it like being a fly on the wall, being able to zoom out and observe yourself in a situation and how you're being perceived. It almost feels like a superpower at sometimes that allows you to stop time and modify your behaviours. The topic of emotional intelligence can be broken down into 4 main components. Self-awareness. Now this is considered the foundation for all of the other components of emotional intelligence, and as such is super important. Self-awareness means being aware of what you are feeling, being conscious of the emotions within yourself. Awareness of others. Same as it's vital to be self-aware, it's also vital to be aware of others. Very, very important. And this is where you're aware enough to be able to monitor, anticipate the reactions and the potential actions of others in a group, and then possibly take actions yourself to intervene and change the situation, should that be needed. Situational awareness. Now this is basically a combination of self and other awareness, as well as factoring in other variables in a particular situation. That might be something to do with the environment, the atmosphere, the type of work, the questions being asked, the tone of the interaction. It could be anything really. Relationship management. This is the final component of emotional intelligence. It's the ability to connect with others, to build positive relationships, to respond to the emotions of others and influence others on the team. So if you can build that understanding, well, that's absolutely vital to your own ability to pass that on to the team. And now you know all about AI, you can show your team and lead by example. Have a ringleader. Establishing a culture of any kind is much easier when you've got some support from at least one like-minded champion. Someone that's as passionate as you are about a particular subject that you're trying to embed into your team. So if you can find someone in your team that shares the same interest, attitude and skill set for emotional intelligence, then you'll find that your ideas or the initiatives that you try and bring to the team have got an instant seeding ground. And they've got a supporter that can help to establish and embed those ideas right from the start. You're not on your own, you've got a key ally who can help move your ideas forward. And crucially, if there's some resistance or challenge with your initiatives, then your EI champion can help to correct those problems and gather feedback from the people on the ground, the rest of the team, and that gives you a much better chance of making a success of your drive for emotional intelligence in your team. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a senior supporter either. Just somebody in your team that feels the same vibe, understands the value of emotional intelligence as much as you do, and then you make sure you involve them closely and reward them for their engagement at the end of the year feedback sessions. Show your appreciation for their support. If they feel that they're contributing significantly to the development of the team as a whole, then they'll feel incredibly valued over and above their day job. So getting that supporter is really important. Encourage everybody to have a voice. As a team leader, it's up to you to manage the contributions of all of the team in the myriad of forms that you'll interact in. And being aware of the contributions of others is a vital skill. It's not just about work delivery, but it's about how much everybody feels comfortable and empowered to share their own contributions and speak up in team meetings and other calls. For example, as a manager, are you aware of those people in your teams that don't say much? Why are those individuals so much quieter than others? Are you giving them enough opportunities to speak? Are they being dominated by others in the calls? Or are they junior, introverted, or from a culture that means they might be a little bit scared to raise their hand and put their voice forward? Being emotionally intelligent means that you and the rest of your teams are super aware of not just your own contributions to a forum, but also the contributions of others in the group. You can see when somebody else might not be comfortable. And if you as a manager can encourage not only the awareness, but also ensure actions afterwards, then you'll be well on the way to creating an emotionally intelligent team. What can you and others do to help those people that are less comfortable at raising their voice or expressing their opinions. There's a lot you can do, from providing space in the meetings for roundtable conversations to developing more self-confidence in particular individuals through one-to-one meetings. But the important aspect is first being able to spot the issue, and that's where emotional intelligence comes in. To have that awareness, to realize there's a problem. All those YouTube experts say this is the time I'm supposed to ask you to subscribe to the channel. Well, I'm not going to, because if you like the videos, you will. Simple as that. Let's get on with it. Embed emotional intelligence into the hiring pipeline. As a manager, you'll be trying to not only establish great EI skills within yourself and your team, but also make sure that it's crucially a fundamental pillar of the whole team and a core capability of everybody that you bring into the organization, just as much as any technical or job-related skill. So, how do you do that? Well, it's not as simple as trying to screen for emotional intelligence in your interview questions. You can't just ask somebody if they're adept at emotional intelligence. Everyone's going to say yes, but not everybody will even know what it means. So as a hiring manager, you'll have to understand the kind of open-ended and scenario-based questions that you'll have to ask to get some idea of the EI capabilities of a candidate. And that's going to take some time. Remember, you'll still have to establish their technical and job-related capabilities as well. So this is almost like a whole new aspect of skills to assess. And yes, I mentioned time. Time is a key issue in any hiring process. Even at its most efficient, recruiting is a time-consuming process. So do you have the capability and the bandwidth to add on a whole new pillar of things to evaluate? Well, if you're taking emotional intelligence seriously, then yes, you'll need to take a top-down look at your entire hiring pipeline and ensure that EI is a fundamental consideration at every stage. In my 20+ years of experience managing people, I've found that emotional intelligence is probably the most important consideration for anybody that I've brought into my teams. And on a couple of occasions, I've neglected EI in favor of super stellar technical skills. And those hires have always turned out to be failures. Because having great job-related skills with low emotional intelligence doesn't get anybody very far in the modern corporate workplace. It really is an essential. So as a manager, make sure you've baked EI into the entire DNA of your team and the hiring pipeline. Ensure that the recruitment pipeline feeds that. Make it the norm. Just like when a sports team signs a new player. If that new player comes into a team where excellence is the norm, then they'll not only fit in, but they'll develop and move forward quickly. But if that team doesn't have the right culture, then, well, the opposite happens, and that player goes backwards. So as a team manager, it's up to you to ensure that even the smallest cracks in your culture of emotional intelligence are fixed fast and fixed well. And there will be cracks. People will drop their standards occasionally, and you'll see some behavior that maybe you shouldn't. And it's important that you as a manager detect and address those issues as soon as you can. If you just let them go as one of those things, then gradually, over time, the issues will become more common and your culture will begin to be impacted. So if you see an issue, act on it. When my teams drop their standards, I don't make a huge deal of it, but I do get people together and remind them of the standards that we set ourselves and why that culture of respect and psychological safety is so important for our group as a whole. And even when we don't have issues, I'll still be constantly reminding people of their own responsibilities to look out for each other's mental health and to make sure that we all have each other's backs at all times. And we spoke about an emotional intelligence champion earlier. Well, those champions can be great supporters when it comes to helping to detect and address the smaller cracks in the plaster that might appear from time to time in your team. So once your own team has EI as a fundamental, non-negotiable behavioural norm, then you'll be flying. And before the next tip, do download our free ebook and find out if you have the mindset of a leader. The link's in the description, and you'll also get free access to our Skillshare courses on a variety of leadership subjects. And if you want to discuss your own career challenges with me, well, book one of our career clinic sessions. I've already helped loads of people with the challenges that they have in their work, and maybe I can do the same for you. Keep layering on the capabilities. So now you've got a good baseline of emotional intelligence in your team. You've got a team that's self-aware of their own behavior and how it affects others. They'll be looking out for each other and helping the whole group ensure that their interactions with clients and each other are professional and frustration-free. Great. But as the manager, it's vital not to rest here. Emotional intelligence has got many more advanced aspects to it that go over and above that baseline that you've established. It's your job and that of your emotional intelligence champions to ensure that people don't just live emotional intelligence, but that become students and scholars of how they can use psychology in their day-to-day roles to benefit everybody and the team as a whole. With every passing week, you should be looking to not only refine your own EI capabilities, but the capabilities of your teams, and constantly introduce the new capabilities and challenges to be building that mindset and excellence and understanding of EI. Explore things like advanced body language, nudging, empathy, assertiveness, active listening, conflict resolution, and so much more. And it's not just EI that you should do this with. Becoming a true self-learner is a vital skill that will get you so far in your career and life in general. Whatever you know, you can always know more, you can always get better, and you can always have a richer experience from your work and life skills. Self-learning is the key to opening these new doors. Have a look at my Skillshare course on how you can create a self-learning culture at your organisation. You can take it for free. Links down there. Accentuate the positives. Nothing chips away at a team culture more than negativity. It's the surefire way to get people hating their jobs in double quick time. And it's a super easy trap to fall into. We all know those people that gossip and moan at water coolers. Every time you meet them, it's a long case of who's annoyed them this time or what crappy thing their company has done to make them unhappy. It's always the same. They're always moaning. They're always negative. And sure enough, we all have periods where we probably do hate our jobs, but they're usually short-lived periods and they're totally fixable. And you as a manager play a vital role in regulating the mood of your team. And one of the most valuable and effective ways of doing that is by maintaining a level of positivity yourself. Don't get into any politics or people issues. And if you do, make sure it never becomes apparent to your team. Keep them all private. Sure, you can show some frustration at processes, procedures, or even some of the people you work with, but don't make it a systemic issue. Don't make it a habit. The last thing your team wants to hear is how much you hate your job or hate your company. After all, if you don't want to be here, then why should they? So keep it positive, keep it high energy, and you'll find that your team will respond. Morale will be so much higher because nobody wants to work under a cloud of complaining. I love the psychology of people management. Discovering and embracing the science of emotional intelligence has transformed my own career as a people manager, and it's also benefited many of the individuals that have worked in my teams. When you've got a team that really functions as a cohesive unit, that looks after each other, that copes with issues, that evolves, moves forward as people and a company, then it's a fantastic group to be part of. And even more so when you're the leader of the group. You can have a team with the best technical skills in the world, but without the emotional maturity and willingness to keep learning, then there'll be a shadow of what they could be. So as a manager, make sure that you invest in a true passion for emotional intelligence. Make sure that's always on your mind. If you want to be a master of team leading, then check this video out and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.